This tutorial is going to cover the solution to the practice problem proposed at the end of the matrices tutorial in this same playlist. The goal is to write a program that allows two users to play a game of Tic Tac Toe against each other. Your implementation should include user input and a 2D array. Your game should stop either when one of the users wins or the board is completely filled up. Your game should also print the current state of the board after each round of the game. The current state of the board can be formatted however you like. The user should input their move as two numbers indicating the row and column they would like their move to go in. Remember, tic-tac-toe alternates between O's and X's. So the first thing I'm going to do in my matrices folder is create a new Java class that I'm going to call tic-tac-toe. And double click to make that left pane go away. And as always, I'm going to start with public static void main string args. Okay, so I know I'm going to need user input, so I'm going to use a scanner. Scanner scan equals new scanner system.in. And as always, scanner is red. If I hover over it, I get a cannot resolve symbol. So I'm going to do Alt Enter and then click this first one, scanner import from java.util, and that'll create this import for me. Okay, so I know that I'm going to need to get the whatever the user's input is from the scanner, but I'm not to that point yet. There's a couple more things that I want to do. First thing I need to do is set up the board. So I'm going to go ahead and do private static private final static int board dim equals 3. So that'll give me, so I know how big my board is when I want to start, and I know that a tic-tac-toe board is 3 by 3. So I'm going to do that array of characters. And then I'm going to set this, I'm going to call this board, is equal to a new array of characters. That's going to be board dim by board dim. I also want to keep track of the two different players' moves and what their letters are going to be. So I'm going to have private final static char player 1 is going to be O, and private final static char player 2 is going to be an X. Okay, so I know what player 1 and player 2 are, and I also want to keep track of the move that I'm on. So I'm going to keep track of int move equals 0. And that way I can check whether move is even or odd and know whether to do an X or no. Okay, so what I want to do with this game is I'm going to lay out some pseudocodes. That way I can know exactly what I need to do at each step. So I'm going to have a while loop. So while game isn't over. And then inside the while loop, I'm going to get the player's move. Actually, what I want to do first is print the board. And then I want to get the player's move. Prompt for player move first. Then I want to get the player move. And then I'm going to place the player move. Place player move. And then after they've won again, I still want to print the board. And I want to announce the winner. Or tie game. So print the board first and then announce who the winner is. Okay, so it looks like the first thing I want to do is get a way to determine if the game is over or not, right? And the game can be over in two different scenarios. Either someone has won, or the board is full. So first I need a public static void check or boolean check for win, and it's going to return false from the beginning because it's not implemented yet. And then I also have public static boolean board full. And this is going to return false as well. Okay. So when checking for win, I probably want to tell it which move I'm checking for, right? So I'm going to take in a char check. Okay, so now I have these things. And I need to think about the ways that somebody can win. But at this point, I don't have a way to put things onto the board, so there's no way for me to check this win or not. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave these as not implemented for now and go ahead and put in my while loop. So while check for while not check for win, and I need to have in a checker. So I'm going to go ahead and put in player 1 and not board full I want to do these things. So I want to print the board, so I'm going to go ahead and do public static void print board, and it's going to take in the char board, and it's going to do, it's not implemented yet, but I'm going to go ahead and call it from in here so that when I do implement it, it gets put to work. So print board. And I'm going to prompt for the user's move, so system.out.println or print, since I want the user's input to be put on the same line. So I'm going to put in enter row, then column for move. And then I'm going to say that int row equals scan.nextInt, and int call equals scan.nextInt. So it's going to wait for me to put in 2 integers and press enter. Okay, so I got the player's move, and I want to place the player's move. So I want to say char checker. You know what? I'm going to set checker up here. Equals move mod 2 equals 0. And if it's 0, then I want it to be player 1. Else, I want it to be player 2. So instead of player 1 here, I want this to be checker. So I want to start out at player 1, because I know it's always going to be player 1 based on what this told me, right? So I'm going to start out at player 1. And then down here, I'm going to increment move, and then do this check again. Setting player 1, the checker based on what the player's move is. So after the first round, it'll be player 2, and then the third round will be player 1, and it'll alternate between the two. Cool. So now I know what the checker is here at this point, so I want to set the player's move. So I'm going to say that board row column is equal to checker. Okay, so this should set the board as we go along, and it should keep resetting the board every time. Now what I want to do is print the board. So I'm going to do this in a pretty straightforward way. The first thing I want to do is print out the top line. And the top line, I'm just going to go ahead and print out the board first, straightforwardly, and assuming that the player knows what the different indices are for the board, and that's going to be 0 index. So for int row equals 0, row less than board.length, row plus plus. And you know what? Instead of board.length, I'm going to call this board dim. And then for int call equals 0, call less than board dim plus plus call. And then I'm going to do system.out.println.print board at row call plus the empty string, so that way there's a space between each one, and then system.out.println. Okay, take away that unimplemented, and let's go ahead and play this to see what this looks like. I'll go ahead and print this board here. Oh, I'm playing matrices exercises. That's not what I wanted to do. Let's see, run. I want to do Tic Tac Toe. Okay, so it looks like I got some empty space, empty brackets here, because that's what the empty matrices looks like without anything set up first. So let's see, the row in the column for the move that I want is 0, 0. So that an O got put in. So now I'm going to try 1, 1. And look, an X got put in. Great. Let's see what happens if I try 2, 2. An O got put in. Let's see what happens if I do 0, 1. An X. And if I try 0, 2. An O. Great. This is going wonderfully. And now if I do 2, 1, I get somebody has won, but my game doesn't know that somebody has won yet, right? Because I don't have the proper checks for check for win or board full. Okay. I also don't have proper checks for things like if I do 24 and 34, 21 and 34, I get an index out of bounds exception, which isn't something that I've caught yet, which is something I'm going to have to deal with. So I'm going to eventually, which I'm going to go ahead and deal with now. So I'm going to go ahead and put a try and then a catch here. And move that inside there. Or actually, I'm going to move this inside the try. Because I only want this to happen if this succeeds. So I'm going to try doing that. And then I'm going to catch array index out of bounds exception E. And if that happens, I'm just going to print out system.out.println your row and column must be between 0 and board dimension. -1. Right? Because my board dimension will give me the length of the side, and since it's 0 indexed, it has to be inclusive. It has to be the board dimension -1. So now if I replay, and I try 21 and 34 again, I just get that warning that it has to be between 0 and 2. And let's make sure that I can still get an O and not an X. Yep, still an O. And see, 3 and 2 gives me it must be between 0 and 2 inclusive. So great. Now around this board, I want to have some new line characters. So I'm going to go ahead and do an extra println at the top here. So that way there's a new line for each round of the board. Okay, so great. So I can put things into my board now. I just need to be able to check to see if there's a winner or not. So I need to go through and I need to check every row for a winner. And then I need to check every column for a winner. And then I need to check the 2 diagonals for a winner. Okay, so first thing, I'm going to run over every row. So for int row equals 0, row less than board dim, row plus plus. So I'm going to go over every row and assume that every time it goes, it's going to be just the 3 every time. And I can assume it's going to be 3 by 3 all the time because it's just Tic Tac Toe. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and make that assumption and keep it pretty solid for the rest of this check for win. So I'm going to say, I'm going to have char column 1. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and get the char row equals, and you know what? This actually needs the board as well. And so does board is full. So I'm going to say that row 1 is equal to board row. And that'll get me the full row, current row. And that'll get me the full row. So I can say if current row 0 is equal to checker and current row 1 is equal to checker and current row 2 is equal to checker, return true. And you know what? I think it's going to be easier if I check for both checkers here. So I'm going to go ahead and do player 1, board, player 2 board, board. Okay. So that'll check every row for me, right? And now I need to check every column to see if there's a winner. So for int call equals 0, call less than board dim plus plus call. So here, I can't do the same thing I did here, right? Because I can't just pick out a single column from the board as easily as it is a single row, because there's no way for me to do that. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to copy this and just give it call here. And instead of doing it out of current row, I'm going to have to do it out of board. Okay, So now I just need to check the two diagonals. So the first diagonal is 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2. So I can say if board 0, 0 is equal to checker, and board 1, 1 is equal to checker, and board 2, 2 is equal to checker, return true. And the other diagonal is going to be 0, 2, 1, 1, and then 2, 0. So if board 0, 2 is equal to checker, and board 1, 1 is equal to checker, and board 2, 0 is equal to checker, return false, or true. And then if none of these trues get caught, it's going to just return false. So one thing I want to do before we move forward is go ahead and set up a base checker. So private final static char base checker, and I'm going to make that a tilde. Or actually, I'm going to go ahead and make it an underscore. So now I want to call setup board. And what setup board is going to do, public static void setup board, is it's going to take board and it's going to set everything equal to base checker in board. So here I'm going to say board for int row equals 0, row less than board dim plus row, for int call equals 0, call less than board dim plus call, board row call equals base checker. Great. So now I have something to check against whenever I'm checking for board full. So now in board full, I can just run over the entire board and check to see if any checker is equal to base checker. So run over the whole board and say if board row column is equal to base checker, return true, or return false. And then at the end, just return true. So if I hit a base checker, then I know that I am not full yet. And if I don't, then I know that my board is full. So let's go ahead and stop the currently running game and then press play again. Okay, so I enter a row and a column for my move. So I'm going to go ahead and do 0, 0. So I have an O. And let's just play quit to see if I can win by going on a horizontal, on a row. So I'm going to do 1, 1 for my next move. And then for O, I'm going to do 0, 1. And then for the X, I'm going to do 1, 2. And then for the O, I'm going to do 0, 2. And my game ended, which is great because it means that I won. But I didn't get an indication of who won or by how much. So I need to quickly figure out how the game ended. So I'm going to say if player 1 is 1, System.out.println player else if player 2 is 1, system.out.println player 2 1. I'm gonna go ahead and add an ooze there. So that way it'll say like O's 1 and then X is 1. Else. Then the only other else is that the board is full. System.out.println cat's game. So that means the board is filled up and nobody is 1. So great. Have all that in place. So let's try again. Let's make O win again. Oh, I forgot a plus. There we go. Let's make O win again by just going in that top row. So 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 2, O's 1. Great. So I still want to put a little bit of spacing here, so I'm going to go ahead and put in an extra space there. And I want to go ahead and split this up a little bit more. So I'm going to take this out, and let's see. Refactor, extract as a method. And I want to be private, and I want to call it check for winner. Actually, I want to call it print winner. And I'm going to do OK. And now, doing that has taken those 3 lines of code and extracted them into their own method with a board parameter because it knew it was going to need that based on the code. And now I have a print winner method, just like I would want. And it made it private because it knows I'm not going to use it outside of this class. Let's see if there's other places we can do that. So here, this is a round of the game, right? So I'm going to go ahead and extract this as well. Extract, method. There are multiple output values. Okay, so I can't do that because there are multiple values that are getting set throughout this, so I'm not going to do it. But let's make sure that everything looks good everywhere else. Okay, so let's try to get a full board without somebody winning. Let's see if I can do this in a clever way and not overriding a bunch of stuff that's already there. So let's see. 0, 0, 1, 1. Oops. I meant 1, 1. 2, 2. 0, 1. And then I'm going to block X by going 2, 1. I'm going to block O by going 2, 0. I'm going to block X by going 0, 2. I'm going to block O by going 1, 2. And I'm going to block X by going 1, 0. And it's a cat's game, so that is working. And I could check all the other ways, but I'm feeling pretty confident that I can win all the other ways too. And I think, so there's one other thing we haven't done, which is we haven't stopped the user from being able to override the row in the column that they've just entered. So somebody could do, let me replay and show you what I mean. So I can do 1, 1, And the next move, do 1, 1 again, and just replace the O with the X. And I don't want that to happen. So here, before I do this, I need to say if board row call is equal to base checker, then I can do this. Else, I'm going to system.out.println that spot is already taken. And you know what? That kind of seems like I'm yelling. So I'm going to actually do oops. That spot is already taken. Try again. Okay, so let's stop the game and restart it and see if that works. So I have 1, 1, and then 1, 1. Oops, that spot's already taken. Try again. So now I should get an X still. So 1, 2. Yep. Great. So that looks like it's working. And that's it. I hope that was helpful.